When my wife's hidden secret came to light, I let her lover's wife speak the truth. The unexpected visitor. Amir sat in his glass-walled office overlooking the Dubai skyline, reviewing blueprints for a luxury resort, when his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. "Is this Amir Hassan?" A woman's voice, strained and urgent. "Yes, who's calling?" "My name is Nadia. Nadia Merchant. We need to talk about our spouses." The words hung in the air like a threat. Amir's chest tightened. "I don't understand." "Please. Can we meet today? It's important." Her voice cracked slightly. An hour later, Nadia sat across from him in a quiet cafe, her fingers wrapped around an untouched coffee cup. She was younger than he expected, with exhausted eyes that held both pain and determination. "Your wife Zara and my husband Rafiq have been." She paused, choosing words carefully, "involved for 6 months." Amir's world tilted. Rafiq was his business partner, his friend. Zara was his everything, the woman who brought color to his monochrome world of steel and concrete. "That's impossible," he whispered, but his mind was already racing through recent months. Zara's new perfume. Her phone always face down. The girls' nights that increased in frequency. The way she startled when he entered rooms unexpectedly. Nadia slid her phone across the table. Messages between Rafiq and Zara filled the screen. Terms of endearment that should have been his alone. Plans for secret meetings during business conferences. His hands trembled as he scrolled. "I've known for 3 weeks," Nadia said quietly. "I wanted to confront them together, but I needed you to know first. They don't realize I've discovered everything." Amir looked at this stranger who now shared his nightmare. Her composure amazed him. She wasn't hysterical or vengeful, just heartbreakingly honest. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I want them to face the truth. Together. No more lies." She met his eyes. "Tomorrow. You're home. I'll tell them both that we know." That evening, Amir watched Zara prepare dinner, her movements graceful and familiar. She hummed softly, the same melody from their honeymoon in Santorini. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, but instead he helped set the table, playing the role of oblivious husband one last time. "You seem distant," Zara said, touching his shoulder. Her hand felt like a brand. "Just work stress," he lied. She kissed his cheek, and he wondered how many times she'd kissed him while thinking of another man, the confrontation. The doorbell rang at exactly 3 o'clock. Zara looked up from her laptop, confusion crossing her face. "Are we expecting someone?" Amir's throat was dry. "Yes. Someone who needs to speak with us." When Zara opened the door and saw Nadia standing there, recognition flickered in her eyes, followed immediately by terror. The color drained from her face as Nadia stepped inside with quiet dignity. "Hello, Zara," Nadia said softly. "I think it's time we all talked honestly." Zara's eyes darted to Amir, searching for salvation, but found only pain reflected back. "Amir, Sit down," he said, his voice hollow. They gathered in the living room where countless happy evenings had unfolded. Now the space felt suffocating. Nadia sat composed, hands folded in her lap, while Zara perched on the edge of the sofa like a bird ready to flee. "I know about you and Rafiq," Nadia began, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I've known for 3 weeks. I have messages, photographs, hotel receipts." "Nadia, please," Zara's voice broke. "Let her speak," Amir commanded. Nadia pulled out her phone, displaying screenshots with calm precision. It started in March. The first message was innocent, Rafiq asking about design recommendations for our living room. But within 2 weeks, the conversations changed. She scrolled through evidence that made Zara sob quietly. "By April, you were meeting at the Atlantis Hotel every Thursday afternoon while I was teaching and Amir was on site visits." Each word was a knife. Amir watched his wife crumble, mascara streaking her cheeks, and felt his heart splitting between love and devastation. "The last message was 3 days ago," Nadia continued. "Rafiq told you he loved you. You responded with a heart emoji." "Stop," Zara whispered. Please stop. But Nadia wasn't finished. She spoke about the perfume Rafik had bought Zara, the same scent Amir had noticed. The necklace Zara claimed was from her sister. The weekend in Abu Dhabi supposedly spent at a design conference. Why? Amir finally spoke, his voice ragged. Why wasn't I enough? Zara looked at him with eyes drowning in regret. You were always enough. You were everything. She choked on words. I felt invisible. You were building your career, working 18-hour days. When you came home, you were exhausted. We stopped talking, stopped really seeing each other. So you found someone who would see you. Bitterness laced his words. I found someone who was there, she sobbed. Rafik listened. He asked about my day, my dreams. It started as friendship, as feeling valued again. And then one night, after too much wine and too many compliments, I made the worst mistake of my life. Nadia flinched but maintained her composure. And you continued making that mistake for 6 months. Zara reached for Amir's hand desperately. Her fingers were cold, trembling. He looked at those hands that had once traced his face with such love, and pulled away. Don't touch me, he whispered. The rejection shattered something in Zara. She collapsed forward, sobbing into her palms. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I never stopped loving you, Amir. Not for 1 second. What I did was selfish and cruel and unforgivable, but please believe, I never stopped loving you. Amir stood abruptly. The room was too small, the air too thick. I need to leave. Amir, please. He walked to the door without looking back. Behind him, he heard Zara's anguished cries and Nadia's quiet voice attempting to offer some strange, shared comfort between two women bound by betrayal. Outside, the Dubai heat hit him like a wall, but he welcomed it, anything to feel something other than the hollowness expanding in his chest. Reflections and vulnerability. The hotel room was impersonal and cold, exactly what Amir needed. He lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, his phone buzzing constantly with messages from Zara. Please come home. Let me explain properly. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but please don't disappear. I miss you. I miss us. He turned off his phone and closed his eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, memories flooded in, their wedding day 7 years ago, Zara in an ivory lengha that made her look like a dream brought to life. Their honeymoon in Greece where they'd made love under starlight, her laughter echoing across the balcony. The way she'd held his hand during his father's funeral, absorbing his grief without words. When had he stopped prioritizing those moments? When had ambition replaced attention? 3 days passed in a fog. Amir went through the motions at work, avoiding Rafik who'd called repeatedly. He met with clients, reviewed designs, but functioned on autopilot. On the 4th day, Nadia texted, "Coffee? I think we both need someone who understands." They met at a quiet beachside cafe. Nadia looked more rested than their first meeting but carried the same deep sadness. Have you spoken to Rafik? Amir asked. Briefly. He's staying with his brother. She stirred her coffee absently. I've decided to divorce him. I can't rebuild something with someone who disrespected our marriage so completely. Amir nodded, understanding her choice even as he wrestled with his own. But I need to tell you something, Nadia continued. I'm not angry with Zara. Not anymore. What they did was wrong. But marriages don't fall apart because of one person. They crack when both partners stop tending to them. Her words struck deep. You're defending her. No. I'm acknowledging reality. Nadia's eyes were clear and honest. Rafik complained for months about me being too focused on my career, about us not connecting. I dismissed him, told him he was being needy. I thought our love was strong enough to survive neglect. She paused. I was wrong. And while his choice to cheat was his alone, my choice to ignore our problems contributed to the cracks he fell through. Amir thought about his own marriage, the late nights at the office, the missed dinners, the times Zara had tried to talk and he'd said later while scrolling through emails. Zara tried to tell me she felt lonely, he admitted quietly. 6 months ago, she said she felt like she was competing with my career. I told her she was being dramatic, that she knew how important my work was. And Rafik told me I cared more about my students than him, Nadia said. We both chose our pride over our partner's pain. They sat in shared silence, two people learning the same hard lesson from different angles. What will you do? Nadia asked. I don't know. I love her, God, I still love her so much it hurts. But how do I trust her again? You decide if the love is worth the work. Nadia stood, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. Not everyone can rebuild after betrayal. But if you choose to try, you both have to own your parts in what broke you. That evening, Amir finally read all of Zara's messages. 47 of them, each more desperate than the last. The final one, sent just an hour ago. I know you may never forgive me. But I need you to know, losing you is worse than anything I've ever felt. The affair was an escape from loneliness, but it was empty. You are my home, Amir. You always were. I just forgot how to show you. He stared at the words, feeling something shift in his chest. Not forgiveness yet, but maybe the possibility of it. The path to understanding Amir stood outside his own home for 10 minutes before finding the courage to use his key. It was past midnight, and he expected darkness, but soft light glowed from the living room windows. Zara sat curled on the sofa, wrapped in the blanket from their bed, her eyes red and swollen. When she saw him, she stood slowly, as if afraid sudden movement might scare him away. You came back, she whispered. I needed time to think. He closed the door behind him, maintaining distance between them. But I can't move forward without understanding. Really understanding. They sat at opposite ends of the sofa, the same place where they'd once cuddled during movie nights, where he proposed on a rainy evening 3 years into dating. Now an ocean of hurt separated them. I don't want to hear about the affair, Amir said carefully. I need to know when I lost you. When did we stop being us? Zara's eyes filled with fresh tears, but she nodded. She pulled the blanket tighter, as if gathering courage from its warmth. Do you remember our 4th anniversary? She began quietly. I planned a special dinner at that rooftop restaurant where we had our first date. I bought a new dress, made reservations weeks in advance. Amir's stomach dropped. He remembered. The Al Maktoum contract. You called at 6 o'clock saying you had to finalize details with the client. You promised you'd make it by 8. Her voice was soft, without accusation. I waited until 10:30. The restaurant gave away our table. I came home and you were asleep on the couch with blueprints scattered everywhere. Zara, I'm not blaming you. I know that contract was important. But that was when something inside me cracked. She wiped her eyes. I told myself it was one night, that your career needed attention. But then it became a pattern. You missed my gallery opening. You forgot my mother's birthday dinner. Every conversation became about your projects, and when I tried to share my day, I could see your mind was elsewhere. Amir closed his eyes, shame washing over him. He remembered those moments differently, as necessary sacrifices for their future. But he'd never asked if Zara agreed to sacrifice their present. I started feeling like a roommate instead of a wife, Zara continued. I'd reach for you in bed and you'd mumble something about being tired. I'd suggest weekend trips and you'd say, after this project. I know I should have fought harder to make you listen, but I was exhausted from feeling like I was begging for scraps of your attention. So Rafik gave you that attention. The words came out harder than he intended. Zara flinched but nodded. He asked about my designs, wanted to know about my childhood, listened when I talked about wanting children someday. He made me feel seen again. She looked at Amir directly. But every moment with him felt wrong. Every touch, every word, it was all tainted because he wasn't you. I kept telling myself I'd end it, but I was addicted to feeling valuable to someone. You were always valuable to me, Amir said, his voice breaking. I know that now. But I needed to feel it then. Zara's hands twisted in the blanket. What I did was unforgivable. I chose the coward's way instead of demanding you listen to my pain. I betrayed everything we built, and I will regret it every day for the rest of my life." Silence settled between them, heavy with shared culpability. Amir thought about Nadia's words, "Marriages crack when both partners stop tending to them." "I failed you," he finally said. "I took your love for granted. I assumed you'd always be there, waiting patiently while I chased success. I made you invisible in your own marriage." "We both made mistakes," Zara whispered. "Mine was just worse." Amir looked at his wife, truly looked at her for the first time in months. She seemed smaller somehow, fragile in a way he'd never seen before. Her hair was unwashed, her face bare of makeup, her eyes holding an ocean of regret. But beneath the pain, he still saw the woman who'd held his hand through his darkest days, who'd believed in his dreams when no one else did. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet," he said honestly. "But I want to try. Because losing you completely feels worse than living with this hurt." Zara's sob was both heartbreak and hope. "I'll spend every day proving I deserve that chance." Amir shifted closer, closing the gap between them by inches. "No more secrets. No more assumptions. If we do this, we communicate, even when it's hard, even when we're angry." "I promise," she breathed as he reached out slowly, giving her time to understand his intention. When his hand touched her tear-stained cheek, she leaned into it desperately, her eyes closing as if memorizing the feeling. "I still love you," he whispered. "Even through all of this, I never stopped. I love you too. So much it terrifies me." That night, they lay together in their bed for the first time in days, not making love, but simply holding each other. Zara's head rested on Amir's chest, his arms wrapped around her protectively. They cried together, grieved together, and somewhere in the darkness, began the long journey toward healing. Rebuilding together 8 weeks later, Amir and Zara sat in their marriage counselor's office for their final scheduled session. Dr. Yasmin smiled at them from across her desk. "You two have done remarkable work," she said. "The commitment you've both shown to rebuilding trust is admirable." It hadn't been easy. There were days when Amir's hurt resurfaced unexpectedly, triggered by a song, a place, a memory of betrayal. There were nights when Zara woke from nightmares about losing him. But they'd learned to navigate the pain together. They established new patterns, daily check-ins where they shared not just events but feelings. Date nights every Friday, sacred time when work calls went unanswered. Honest conversations about desires, fears, and needs without judgment. Zara had closed all social media accounts and changed her number, giving Amir complete transparency. More importantly, she'd started individual therapy to understand why she'd sought validation externally instead of demanding it from her marriage. Amir had restructured his work schedule, hiring an associate to share project loads. He came home by 7 most evenings, leaving weekends completely free. He learned to be present, not just physically but emotionally engaged. That evening, Amir surprised Zara by taking her to the rooftop where he'd first proposed 7 years ago. Fairy lights twinkled above them, and the Dubai skyline glittered like scattered diamonds. "Why are we here?" Zara asked softly. "Because this is where I promised to love you forever," Amir said, taking both her hands. "And I need you to know that promise still stands." Tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. "Even after everything. Especially after everything." He pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. "What happened broke us. But it also showed us what we were taking for granted. We were coasting, Zara, assuming our love would sustain itself without effort. And now," she whispered, "now we know better. Now we choose each other every single day, not out of obligation, but out of conscious commitment." He kissed her then, soft and tender, tasting the salt of her tears mixed with his own. It was different from their passionate kisses of early romance. This held the weight of hard-won understanding, a forgiveness earned through vulnerability. Zara's hands slid up his chest to his shoulders, pulling him closer. "Dance with me." Music played softly from his phone, the same song from their wedding. They swayed together under the stars, bodies pressed close, reconnecting not just physically but spiritually. Amir breathed in her familiar scent, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. "I was so afraid I'd lost you forever," Zara murmured against his neck. You almost did, he admitted. But then I realized, we'd both lost each other long before the affair. We were living parallel lives instead of intertwined ones. They stayed on that rooftop for hours, talking and holding each other. When they finally returned home, their lovemaking was slow and intentional, each touch a promise, each kiss a reconnect ion. There was hesitation at first, old wounds creating momentary awkwardness, but beneath it flowed a current of deep, enduring love afterward. Wrapped in each other's arms, Zara traced patterns on Amir's chest. Will you ever fully trust me again? I don't know, he answered honestly. But I trust who we're becoming together. We're not the same couple we were. We're stronger because we've been broken and chose to mend. I'll spend my lifetime earning back what I destroyed, she promised. And I'll spend mine making sure you never feel invisible again. Their marriage bore scars now, visible reminders of pain survived. But scars proved resilience, showed that wounds had healed into something tougher than original skin. They understood now that forgiveness wasn't a single moment but a daily choice, that trust rebuilt slowly through consistent action. 3 months later, Zara discovered she was pregnant. As they sat together looking at the positive test, both cried tears of joy mixed with or at this second chance, not just at marriage, but at building the family they'd always dreamed of. We're going to be okay, Amir said, kissing her temple. Better than okay, Zara replied, placing his hand on her still flat belly. We're going to be real. And they were. Not perfect, but authentic. Not unmarred, but unbroken. Two people who'd faced their darkest moment and chose light, together.